What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, America? Oh, man, I feel like I haven't been on here in a good minute. I know we missed the last couple of scheduled dates, guys, but we still in the building. It's Brooklyn Biz and Ball Sports Show. We still on deck. We still on fire. We always got something to talk about in the world of sports. NBA, NFL, free agency. We're going to talk a little bit about, Kawhi and the Clippers. We're going to talk about this new partnership between LBJ, LeBron James, and JJ Redick. And, we're going to talk a little bit about that. That's an interesting setup there. But we're going to talk about it, give you our opinions on that and all the stuff that Isaiah Thomas has said about Draymond Green and the legacy of the Golden State Warriors. So some things we're going to touch on, and some potential NBA stuff is related to the upcoming playoffs that'll soon be upon us. So listen, we got a lot to talk about, man. But listen, it's your boy Rod. Don is in the building. Shout out to our boy Scrap, who could not be with us tonight. You know what I'm saying? We had to push the show back a little bit later, but shout out to Scrap, man. You know what I find out, Don? Scrap is three things, man. I gotta make sure he knows this when he gets back, man. Scrap is a coach, he is a comedian, and he's also a cook. This boy could go down. The dude could go down. Don's a good cook too, and Don can barbecue his behind off, man. Dude is off the chain. You know what I'm trying to say? I, on the other hand, I'm a professional eater. I eat. I don't cook. I don't barbecue. I do nothing of the sort. But shout out to Scrap, man. He did the 3 C's. You know what I'm saying? He's a coach, he's a comedian, and he's a cook. But we're going to miss him tonight, though. But nevertheless, we got a lot to talk about. Don, what's good with you? Oh, but before you tell us how you doing, my brother, please, y'all, Facebook, YouTube, y'all know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the things that help push the algorithm, man. Shout out to my boy Don, always active on the page, pushing stuff, man, and getting people engaged and getting us involved with the reels and the whole nine. So anytime something's going on with Brooklyn Biz and Ball, our sports show, you'll be the first to be notified. Hit that little bell button there.
Right. Your mic sounds like you have the lapel clipped into your beard or something. I mean, it sounds like.
Is it really? Yeah. Is it?
You got to bring that mic. You got to bring that mic closer, man. So
I gotta. Okay, what am I? So here's what I'm gonna do.
So they can clearly hear those bad takes, because I don't want there to be any excuse. I don't want loss in translation. I don't want any of that to take place. I want them to clearly hear your take on what Isaiah Thomas said about the Warriors. I want you to clearly be able to respond to that. So
you waiting
everyone, please like, share, subscribe. We have a great show. Now wait, so give me a test on your mic, Rod.
What up?
Much better. I don't know what you were doing before. Okay. Much better. Much better. We got to make sure we're clear to the people.
All right. I'm nice and loud and clear.
Yes, sir. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, well, this is an interesting thing. Me and Rod, once we heard about the partnership between LeBron James and JJ Redick, starting their podcast.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised at the choice of co-hosts that LeBron had. Usually, contemporaries are kind of on the same level, skill set, impact to the game. I think it would be, in my opinion, I thought it was a downgrade to have JJ as the co-host. I think he's, he made it to the NBA, so obviously he's, top percentile of athletes, right? So he's made it to the NBA. But if we look at his career as a whole, do we really think he should be talking shop with LeBron James, arguably top 1 or 2 ever to play the game? It just doesn't make sense to me. And so I was already kind of questioning why LeBron, because LeBron, he could have the choice of anybody, pretty much anybody to be his co-host, right? Or to host a podcast with him. Why would he pick JJ Redick? Time will tell. I think they're not equally yoked, if you will. I don't think that it's a good combination. I think I would have been more intrigued and interested if it was 2, first ballot Hall of Famers, 2 great players, according to, Rod's ridiculous list hierarchy of players. If it was two greats sitting down and breaking down the game, I would be more intrigued. But to have a great player and a role player, I'm not thrilled about it. Of course, it'll be interesting to see what LeBron says. And in the first episode, he's already said some stuff that we're going to discuss later. But I want to get your take initially on what you feel about JJ Redick and LeBron teaming up to do a podcast.
I think it's great. I love this tandem. I love this partnership. And as I said to you in the chat, D, I think that you've got two great minds. Now, I think when it comes to certain things, maybe after
Jordan thinks differently. I don't know.
Well, no one cares about what Jordan thinks anymore. Honestly, listen, sell your sneakers. I got quite a few of them. I love them. Keep selling your sneakers, because at this point, that's the only relevancy Jordan has is his sneakers, and the fact that, people will still arguably say he's the best player to play the game, right? Not taking away from Michael Jordan. But you even said that Jordan and Kobe would have never done this, although I beg to differ. I think Kobe would have done this because Kobe and LeBron are two guys, when it comes to the game of basketball, they are what I believe true students of the game. LeBron, as we know, is high IQ, has always been since his days in high school. Same thing with Kobe even, right? And I think when you look at LeBron getting with JJ Redick, who I think is, first of all, JJ Redick is, I think, one of the most respected analysts in the podcast arena, in the analysis arena. When you talk about guys who analyze and break down the game, he just obviously got promoted recently to the first announcing squad or team on ESPN with Doris Burke there, and I think he knows the game. And when JJ gets up there, the thing with why people like JJ Redick is because JJ Redick refutes the garbage that people keep recycling. It's the same stuff people says, and you know what? He challenges them on that. He brings out facts. He brings out statistics. He brings out numbers, and he justifies statistics by the way the game is played. Like, there isn't a team that he could not tell you how they play, what they do, what they like to do, don't like to do, where their strengths and weaknesses are from a schematic standpoint. He's one of the few in the league that does that. Not Kendrick Perkins and Richard Jefferson and maybe a few other guys. They don't. I'm talking about for mainstream. As far as the mainstream media is concerned, those guys don't really give you anything valuable, right? They don't really give you a whole lot. But when JJ Redick speaks, he gives you some insight. He kind of, and I think people like that. I think the people tend to draw to that. LeBron is the same way, D. He's a guy that loves the game. He teaches the game. He plays the game like a teacher, much like how Magic Johnson did when he played. He orchestrates. He knows where guys should be. He's like the Peyton Manning of basketball. He has a cerebral handle on the game. So I think to hear both these guys with 2 episodes out already, which I have yet to hear, but their idea, Mind the Game, I think, which is the name of the podcast. Listen, I'm looking forward to hearing it. I know you said there was some comments. I heard it, but yeah.
I think it's comparing having LeBron and JJ Redick in the podcast together would be kind of pairing up Tom Brady and Gardner Minshew. It's like
no.
Listen.
Yeah, you going by the way JJ was a good.
We're talking about the impact of what they have done in the league. We're talking about how a player is viewed, right? So does it make sense that LeBron, why wouldn't it be, do you think it would be better if LeBron paired up with another great player and they really talked about, because at the end of the day, arguably LeBron could not be shut down, right? LeBron has a way of, he can create his own shots. That's different from someone who is dependent on the star creating a shot for them, right? JJ Redick is a career role player. So I just think...
But I mean, if the podcast is centered around Mind the Game, meaning they're talking about the game, I think from, and again, I haven't heard any episodes, but it's based on the topic, I mean, the title of the podcast, and knowing what JJ's body of work is, and then we know LeBron just as a cerebral basketball player,
right? But
they're going to talk basketball. Like you want him and Chuck up there, like Chuck, and that's what the whole podcast is probably about: breaking the game down. Like saying, hey, what I'm expecting, my anticipation
from a player standpoint, right? And you're
from a player standpoint, yeah, I'm expecting him to say like, this guy is really good in this position when he's playing in this kind of defensive coverage or role, or best in pick and roll situations, and here's why he's effective in that, and here's why the game is either changed. I'm sure that they'll probably talk about the evolution of basketball, the way the game has changed, the way players play, what worked for some players and teams and what doesn't. I think you're not going to get that with Charles Barkley. I mean,
I would never suggest Charles Barkley.
Okay, because he was great. I mean, what greatness out there can actually articulate the game, though? I mean, you got to have somebody that can articulate the game. JJ does a good job in articulating the game.
So you're saying that's the true reason that he got it, because
he does know the game. Yeah, and he can articulate the game. Yeah, he can break it down and articulate it, actually like from almost like a mind of a coach. Like JJ could probably be a really good teacher. He's probably like a Tex Winters, right? Tex Winters never was a head coach ever, but he was the mastermind and the orchestrator of the triangle and what he brought to Phil Jackson, right? Phil Jackson wasn't even schematically sound. He was just all about knowing how to get the best out of players, from a mental standpoint, really.
Ooh, wait a minute. So when someone on this show said that Phil Jackson was overrated as a coach, that came with a lot of resistance.
Oh, no, but because I don't think that makes him overrated, though. I'm not saying that Phil didn't have X and O's, but Phil had something that most coaches don't have. He knows how to still get great players to play together.
Lithium. That's what most coaches don't have. He was on lithium. I don't know if he was on lithium or not, but he was so. I mean,
you know what? I mean,
that's what I mean. Phil Jackson a lot of times was just. Yeah,
he had the hippie vibe.
That was the question.
Yeah. Well, he did say that's what he did. I mean, if you write in the Jordan, when you look at the Last Dance episode, that segment they do on him,
was the distinguishing factor. That's what separated him from most coaches, the lithium.
But thank you, Keon. Was that Keandre? Thank you, sir. Canandre. My apologies, sir. I didn't mean to enunciate your name incorrectly, but Canandre, thank you.
Okay, so what we're getting at, Canandre, is this.
He's gonna try to talk you out of your
No, I'm not trying to talk him out of what he believes. What I'm saying is, do you think that LeBron, there are a lot of people that can analyze and break down the game really well, right? I think you think Jay Will he breaks down the game. Jason Williams.
I think Jay Will would have done that. And Jay Will's career was way underwhelming than JJ Redick's, who I don't think was an underwhelming career. I thought JJ Redick was a very good player in the NBA. He was very serviceable. He was a good player. He was good.
And it was cut short for some foolishness, but ultimately, I think it would have been better. Maybe it's just maybe I'm wrong. But let's talk about the first show.
Are this one.
Okay. Time will tell.
Yeah, time will tell.
If Michael Jordan, we won't talk about Michael Jordan. LeBron James chose to have a podcast, not by himself, but with a co-host who is a basketball player that played in the NBA and at best was a role player, not a champion. So there's certain stuff that LeBron's going to talk about, the mind of a champion, that he can't relate to. That's my point. There are certain things, he's never been the star of a team. There has never been, we go as you go. So there are certain stuff where he is limited. We can wax philosophical all day long. He is limited. He is not on the level of LeBron, the ability to carry a team. Has he carried a team? I asked you a whole list of stuff in our text message, and everything was no. Is he a champion? I don't even know if he was an all-star. Was he ever an all-star? Was he ever a scoring leader? Did he ever carry a team? Was it ever on his back? Did he? I mean, this is my point. Why are they doing a podcast together? LeBron should have another great player, and then people would do a podcast with Magic Johnson. Do a podcast. Do something with a great player. It doesn't have to be a current player. It could be someone that was retired. Could be a Hall of Famer. But that would give you, to me, if you're saying it's based on analysis, cool. He can interview. He can walk LeBron through kind of the conversation. Okay, cool. But if you're saying they were evenly matched and equally yoked, and like they're not. It's not even close. It's not even close. So I mean, that's just my opinion. But let's talk about something that LeBron said on the first show.
Can I say one thing, before we go to that? I do agree with you in the sense, okay, if they were to have conversation about what it takes to win, be a champion, and all that kind of stuff, right? Depending upon the depth of that conversation, okay, maybe. But it doesn't mean that JJ Redick still couldn't add some valuable content to that, or make valuable contribution to that discussion. I mean, JJ Redick wasn't a scrub. I remember he was a star at Duke. He was really good at Duke. He averaged 26 points in his senior year.
Christian Laettner was a star at Duke. What did he do? Being good in college means nothing. What are you doing in the NBA?
Right, but okay, when you look at his career, right, in Philadelphia, okay, he averaged 18 points a game 1 year in Philly. He did win the scoring. He did win the champion. He did win the 3-point title as far as the highest percentage in 1 year, 47% from three. I mean, he's a 41. I mean, and he had some, and he also, and he played well in the playoffs. He had some good numbers in the playoffs when he was with the Clippers there. He averaged 13 points in the playoffs there, and 14 in 2015. He averaged 15 points. He averaged, the Clippers again in 2016. He averaged 14 points in that series. And so during that playoff run, they only had 6 games in that one. But what I'm saying, he wasn't a bad player. I mean, he was a role player.
I didn't say he was bad. Thing. I started the show with saying he's obviously top percentile in being an athlete because he made it to the NBA. So there is a difference between being a bench player, a role player, and being arguably, in some people's eyes, the best player to ever play the game of basketball. Right. And so
who would you want to see him up there with then? Before we go to what happened in the podcast episode you want to bring up. Who would you say? Now, Jay Will, I would say I agree with you with Jay Will. But then you lose your argument about in terms of how good a player played in NBA or have experience in winning and all that stuff, right? As far as the NBA level.
I don't know. I'm not saying Jay Will. I'm not saying Jay Will. I'm saying I brought him up. I said if it's based on just being able to articulate and kind of feed questions to LeBron. Yeah, there's a lot of people, analysts that can do that, that's currently have played the game enough and can do that. It would be great. I mean, like I said, I mentioned Magic Johnson. I think he would have been great. It would have also been interesting if you got someone who was a great player in another sport to kind of talk from both angles. What it is for a team to be, dependent on you to win. You carry a team, and maybe a football player who has that same kind of pedigree. But I'm going to tell you what was interesting that LeBron said. Okay. Isaiah Thomas, Tom Brady. You're right. I mean, because, Tom Brady does a podcast with Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, so you see how you have players that are Larry Fitzgerald's never won a Super Bowl, but he was
But how is Larry on there though? I haven't seen it. I know they have a podcast together, but I haven't seen. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's one of the popping podcasts. It's probably what is their chemistry like? What are they? And I just don't know what Larry Fitzgerald, Tom Brady, that just the union and that doesn't do anything. I think part of maybe LeBron's reasoning, even teaming up with a guy like JJ Redick, because Redick is a rising star and he's got a lot of respect and he's doing really well on TV.
He just knows how to challenge at the right time to create. He comes off, and people have brought this up. He comes off to be like a player's coach, because when he was in the circuit to get a head coaching job, that's what he was trying to do. Remember, we had a discussion where everyone was saying something and he was going the opposite way and being more of a player advocate. And obviously that makes sense because he was a player, so he understands from a unique perspective.
Right.
But listen, I think that there are a few different people. Next show, I'll have a list of people.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know who you would pick. Because, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald.
You're acting like you're acting like JJ Redick is the cream of the crop. Like, yo, he's a great player.
No, I don't think he's the cream of the crop, but I think you got to understand this was a strategic move, though, right? I mean, LeBron, if he's going to team up with somebody, right? He's going to team up with somebody, obviously, who is
Mark Jackson. That's really That's a great one. Mark Jackson. Yeah, I think that. He can speak to basketball. He's coached. There are a ton of people. JJ Redick, no problem.
But Mark, I mean, I don't know, right? But now you're talking about a gap in, which may have been good if that was their aim to maybe. Now you talk about errors, right? Talking back to each other and explaining the game from their different perspectives of the era that they played. And of course, obviously, Mark coached in this era, but didn't play in this era. But if that's their goal, if that's their aim, and can Mark talk basketball schematically? Absolutely. I'm sure he can. He's a coach, and he was a good coach at that. And he played at a high level. He did. Rookie year and everything.
Something to do with the formation of the Splash Brothers. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Mark,
I think he is highly qualified for that.
Mark is one. But I don't know if Mark would have. Now, here's the thing. Maybe it's again. Now, JJ's a little polarizing because he could be a bit controversial.
50 bottles of vino all over the place. Maybe Mark Jackson, that doesn't work for him. Maybe because LeBron James.
Well, you're right, because Mark has Christian standards and stuff.
The glass of wine was this big. It was you could barely see his head with the glass of wine. I'm exaggerating, of course. But this is what you don't want me to say.
Go ahead.
As a Laker fan, you don't want me to say that LeBron James said, and I want to get your take and see if you believe this.
Go ahead.
LeBron James said he was born with a sports IQ. Before I go into born with a sports IQ.
Okay. Now, tell me what are you taking exception to with that?
He said at 8 years old, 8 or 9, he said that he was wowing coaches because he knew every intricate detail of the game at 8 years old.
Right. So but then that's no different than you see geniuses like Einstein or other people or the Oppenheimer guy who was building bombs and the movie just won like 400 Oscars, right? And it's about the guy who invented the atomic bomb. I mean, there are people who are gifted like that, at young ages. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Don, you're a gifted.
No.
Listen. Yes, I do believe that. I believe that.
So
you're gifted. You're one of those. I consider you one of those guys. I believe that you are very.
Don't try to turn it on me and try
to
get me. No.
But I'm trying to tell you, I believe that there is a such thing as a person standing out, particularly early in their life, where there's a marking on them to become something, and you can kind of see that already on them and what that would develop to come into, depending upon what kind of environment. If they have an environment that can foster that development in them, but there's some genius in kids, then you can kind of see, I could see that being the case. And LeBron is no, he just happened to have obviously freakish athletic abilities to go with that mindset. But I think that's how he is. I think LeBron at 8 years old, as he said, while older adults about the game, because most 8-year-olds aren't even probably thinking about the game like that, right? I mean, I think that's.
But he didn't say it as speaking on an 8-year-old level. He was speaking that adults he was pretty much schooling adults at 8 years old. I just want to know if you think that is.
I would say this. I would like to think, but again, I could be wrong. He may have in moments have said some things or probably said some things that wowed the adults around him and said, okay. Now, schooling is like you're ongoing, like, yo, give me the chalkboard. I'm going to draw this play up at 10, right? You know what I'm saying? What up, Scrap? You know what I'm saying? That to me would be school. But I think there were moments where a wow moment is a moment. It's not like he is consistently schooling someone on that. But I mean, I wouldn't think it's far-fetched that LeBron would have been a kid that had that level of impression.
Questionable statement. LeBron James, and now we remember, I don't know if you did the show, but we were talking. No, I think you were. Me, you, and Scrap on the show.
Okay.
And we were talking about LeBron's statement if he wanted to go out like Kobe or he wanted to go out like Tim Duncan when he finally hangs it up, right?
Yep.
So based on the comment that he was born with the sports IQ, born with it.
Oh, Lord.
And then he says, you know, he could have played the way he played basketball. His impact could have been on any sport he played. The same level, any sport. So if he wanted to play baseball, he would be as good. If he wanted to play football, he would be as good. If he played basketball, so do you buy that he would be that good? Like he pretty much said, maybe I was chosen to play basketball.
Yeah,
that's what, and that's a direct quote.
Yeah, I think there's I think yes, he would have probably, and I don't think it's far-fetched again to think that he could not have succeeded in other sports because of the fact that maybe the way he would approach the game. Just like Kobe Bryant. I think if Kobe Bryant would have played in some other sports, if he played baseball or maybe, you know, put his whole heart into golf or put his whole heart into tennis, I think those LeBron and Kobe would have done because they were very cerebral. Jordan, on the other hand, I don't think so. And we know he failed to bat baseball. I just think because Jordan was just much more athletically gifted than everybody else and his prowess on the court that I don't think he approached the game from that aspect. He just said, give me the ball and I'm just going to outdo everybody. Because of his competitive nature, I don't think he took an intellectual approach to the game like that, like the way Kobe and LeBron does.
So do you think that's disrespectful to the other greats in other sports that LeBron says?
No, he's just speaking. Why is that? Oh, but Michael Jordan can say he can beat anybody, anywhere, and I'm going to beat you. I don't care who you are. Disrespected Clyde Drexler. Yeah, Drexler won
in basketball. In basketball.
Yeah.
No, that's in basketball.
But Michael Jordan, right, in basketball.
But LeBron's saying if Jordan says, hey, I can go and play. Remember, LeBron was entertaining and he did. Cowboys foolishly were talking about signing him as a tight end after he had already played in the NBA for I don't know how many years. I don't know if it was a lockout. I don't know what it was, but it was a shortened season. I think. He went.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So you think he would have just because he's a supreme athlete, he would have just been able to come in and be a tight end?
No, I mean, unless I'm taking his comment out of context.
Folded.
I think he's maybe saying that if he was to try his hand in another sport when he was young and would have wanted to play something else, he could have been just as good. Like, would he have been able to play 10 years in NBA and then go and be a successful boxer after that? I don't know. I don't think so. But if he's talking about I could have been a successful athlete at a great level. If I was to start young in that sport, I could have become just as great in those sports that I did in basketball. I think there could be some truth to that. And you're right, Brown. The thing is that, I mean, Scrap, Kobe patterned his game out there. But as far as what did he pattern? His work ethic, his style of play, yes, the fadeaways, all that stuff. But I think Kobe was definitely still more cerebral, and more and took an intellectual approach to the game. I don't think that was Jordan. Jordan just wanted to he was going to out jump everybody, and he was just going to beat the brakes off you because he was just that much better. He didn't think about it. It wasn't nothing analytical per se. It wasn't like if I can just get this guy to go to one position. Now I'm not saying he didn't think that way. But at the end of the day, Jordan was just gonna do you in. No matter what you did against him, he knew whatever you tried was never gonna work against him because he was that much better than you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I don't think he got the joy out the game in that way, the way Kobe and LeBron does.
Really?
I don't think he enjoyed the game from an intellectual position. I just think he enjoyed the game because he was just so much better than everybody else. It didn't matter. He didn't need to approach it that way. I just don't think he needed to approach the game that way. I don't think he never became a teacher. He never became anything he never really even talked about the game like that. And that's how you know the difference between guys
that's a personality.
Yeah, but there's a love for that too, right? There's something innate in you that you'll even stand there and talk about the game. Jordan is not a guy who's gonna pontificate on the game like that. He's just not gonna do that. He'd rather play it and just show you rather than tell you. He just not. Kobe would sit there and talk basketball with you for hours. And that's why he coached girls.
I think social media plays a part in that, because you can't tell me that at his time, Jordan wasn't the biggest ambassador for the game we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
I just think that social media puts it in a different perspective, where people have podcasts, people are interviewed, and they want to go into, great lengths of finding out what they thought as a player. But if you talk about Jordan's time, I think he thought, in my opinion, how to dismantle teams, certain players, any competitive advantage. And then if there wasn't, he would create slights so that he would always keep a competitive edge. I don't understand where you don't see that there is some thought involved in that.
But that's not schematics, though. To engender some competition.
So then those two can't be greater than Jordan, because Jordan was able to be great without having to dissect how to do it, is basically what you're saying. They had to think about how to be great, and he was great without thinking.
Yeah, they thought, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm going to give you the reason why I'm saying that. But the reason why Kobe and LeBron would give thought to it, because they love to think about the game that way. Jordan doesn't come off to me as somebody that's like that. He doesn't come off as somebody who likes to get into the intricacies of his game against somebody else. If he's got to go and engender some competitive ambition because that's what motivates him, then that's all about my will over your will. It was all about will for Jordan. That's just really what it was. Kobe could will his way to win too. But in the process of that, Kobe also had a schematic element to his approach. And that's why he still was involved in the game even after he left.
He modeled his game solely after Michael Jordan.
No, but modeling the game and then the way you think about the game is still different. That's why Kobe still coached the game after he left. He was still engaged in the game. He would still sit back and talk about basketball. When did you ever hear Jordan talk about basketball? Never.
He was an ambassador at a different time.
What does that have to do with it?
What I'm saying is Kobe was an ambassador, but in a social media era. So it's different. It looks different. Jordan, when they were on the Olympic team, what he did to bring it globally was you can't.
What did that have to do with him still? But that had nothing to do with you innately still wanting to talk about the game. I don't care how big and global you are. You still, at some point, you could still hear it in their sound. You could still hear it in their voice. You'll hear it in their conversation. Even if it's a soundbite, even if it's something short and quick, a blurb, a burp, or whatever, you're going to hear basketball, not talking about me annihilating you, but me talking about the game from a schematic position. You're not getting that from Jordan. Jordan never gave you that. We got plenty of footage on Jordan's career of him talking into a microphone.
That means they love the game more than the other.
No, not talk a lot, D. No, not talk a lot. It's what comes out their mouth when they do talk. That's why you have that. And Jordan could still do a podcast if he wanted to. Jordan was always just, he had this recluse kind of feel about him a little bit. Now, to your point, if you want to talk about the global, but at the same time too. But Jordan is still outspoken within his circles, and we clearly saw that even in his. But again, it took a documentary to bring that out, right? But you didn't need that with Kobe and LeBron. You can interview them after a game, and they're going to tell you, they'll show you, they'll speak in certain ways in which they talk to let you know that these guys understand the game schematically. They understand the game from that position.
Do you think that is, to a degree, part of their brand building that Jordan didn't need?
No, it's in their personality. Kobe was, listen, we already know Kobe was well cultured, well endowed, well read. Kobe Kobe had some elasticity and range to his intellect. Okay, we can fairly say that. All right. LeBron is somebody who I believe is very strategic in what he does. And when he talks basketball, he's coaching guys in his play. You see it coaching. LeBron, when did Mike coach anybody? Mike was going to be Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, John Stockton, and Charles Barkley had it not been for Phil Jackson to get into his life and help him win championships, because he didn't see the value. And he said it in The Last Dance. He said in the first championship against the Lakers, Phil says to him, throw the ball to Paxson. He's open. And what did Matt Michael say in that interview, in that first episode? When I threw the ball to John and he hit it, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, I can trust him. Well, that's what he wasn't telling you all the time. It's not because why? Now, who would have thought to know to do that, right? LeBron knows to do that because LeBron understands the game. Kobe needed a little bit of help on that too. But the truth to be told, Kobe patterned his game more like Mike in the beginning of his career when he was 8. But when he was 24, he took on the more mature version of playing basketball. He was only like Mike in the first 5 to 7 to 8 years of his career. After Shaq left and Phil had to get him straight again, that's when he had to carry the team, not when he was with Shaq. That's when he started to be actually more like LeBron in that sense in his game. He was only like Michael, the chewing the gum and the way he walked on it. That was just because he wanted to be like Mike. He was still idolizing Mike. But he understood really the way Mike played was not going to get him no rings.
Scrap, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know, Scrap.
He coached Steve Kerr with his fist. Right, exactly. That's what he did. Right. But, so that's showing schematics. I'm saying he's not. Listen, look.
You're trying to take away from Jordan's greatness. That's what I'm getting from it.
I would never take away from Jordan's greatness because there's no way you would be ludicrous to take away from greatness. But you're not going to tell me that you can't honestly believe, D, that you think Jordan is someone who immersed himself or even showed any signs of being someone that would sit and really, take pleasure without any cameras, without making a documentary, Jordan doesn't do no interviews. Nobody ever sees him. Okay, we don't even know where he's even at, right? So I'm saying, but if a person loves basketball like that, they're gonna stay in the game. That's what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? He coached. He owned the Bobcats and did nothing with them dudes. What did he do with them?
He stays in the game still.
Not talking the game. He
doesn't have to teach. He doesn't have to talk about the game, but he's still very much. I mean, he has people that play with his shoe brand. He is still
what does that have to do with him schematically loving the game? Talking about it. That's what LeBron and JJ Redick are bringing to you. What they love to do. Yo, you love ball. I love ball. Let's talk.
We just talked about Kobe, LeBron. No,
but I'm telling you the purpose
Jordan, and then you bring up JJ Redick. See where one of them does not fit?
No. What I'm saying to you is that's the whole purpose of the essence of what we're talking about today so far. Is the podcast. The podcast is to talk about sports. Of the sport of basketball, rather, from the mind the game, right? It's talking about the mind, what goes into not the athleticism of the game, but the structure of the game schematically. That's what these guys love talking. Jordan never talked about that. He didn't need to, because he was so much. He can't articulate to you that I'm better than you, so I'm just gonna bust your tail on the court, and that's how we gonna win games. What is your strategy, Jordan? What do you think you need to do against Clyde Drexler? What do you know? What he said about Clyde Drexler? Well, Clyde Drexler. He's a good guy, good player, but they said he was better than me, and I felt disrespected by that. Really? So the only way you're gonna beat cats and really annihilate them is for someone to tap into your competitive edge and say that they're better than you. But that's not. But what I'm saying he never said. Clyde has a good the way he plays with his offhand, or he has a really good way of
that's what he's saying.
Pick and roll. He don't say none of that stuff. Kobe will break his opponents down. So will LeBron. They'll break down their opponents and say what they good. You never hear Jordan say nothing like that. Jordan, you lucky you even got credit from Jordan.
Scrap.
He wouldn't even give you credit because he didn't want nobody taking his glory.
Do you hear what Scrap says? So you're saying Jordan didn't have a basketball mind? Is that
no?
That's what it sounds like. He's saying.
No. I'm saying
he was just on
but he didn't talk. He doesn't love to talk. He does, but D and Scrap, are y'all gonna sit here and tell me that Jordan's competitive edge had to do with his basketball mind or just his will and knowing he was better than everybody else? What gave him the real edge? Y'all gonna sit here and tell me that it was because of his basketball IQ? And I'm gonna tell you now, his basketball IQ is not on the level of LeBron's. And his basketball IQ is not even on the level of Kobe Bryant. His basketball IQ, I don't think, is even on the level of JJ Redick. His he was just a better player.
We're about to lose credibility.
Magic Johnson it was basketball IQ and greatness. You mean to tell me? So okay, D, you mean there's no such thing as a guy having a better IQ of goal and still be able to play?
Wait a minute. Tell me somebody in history that has that those qualities that you speak of. The IQ. And can't put it together in real time, in real life.
Phil Jackson was that way.
I don't want Phil Jackson. I want a basketball player.
He wasn't a basketball player. He was a two-time champion with the Knicks. I'm saying, all right. I'm saying, why you don't count?
7-foot torso. I want someone else. Pick somebody, a superstar, a player that has. And you said that he wasn't a great coach. You started saying he wasn't a great coach.
No, I said he wasn't the schematic
personalities.
That's what he was. That was his strength. But Phil knew. But in doing that, he also was able to get the guys to buy into a scheme in terms of getting these guys to be in position to win. He knew how to get these guys to be in a place. He knew how to get a Luke Longley and a Bill Willington and a Scott Williams and a Cliff Livingston. These guys who were primarily scrubs anywhere else, right, for the most part, or just good players they made the NBA. But Phil was able to put these guys in a position to complement the greatness of Jordan. So that's where he gets, and that still takes schematic and it takes coaching skill to do that. And you got to know basketball. And I said it before in the show. He patterned himself after Red Holzman, who was the one that taught him about team basketball and passing the ball. That's the mentality. Jordan didn't have that. Y'all not going to sit here and tell me Jordan was that kind of player. No, Jordan could care less about schematics. It was about his points.
I just want to make sure that I have you on the record.
Yes.
You said Jordan's basketball IQ was not of LeBron's, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
The late great Kobe, right?
No, it's not.
And not of JJ Redick.
No, it's not. In terms of understanding the game of basketball.
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you,
because you going
if someone catches this show at 42 minutes, they will never watch this again. Because if someone says that JJ Redick's mind was better than Jordan's, we're losing credibility.
So wait a minute, D. Was Phil Jackson mind better than Jordan's? Let me see who else we could. Was Steve Kerr, by the way. Steve Kerr, who wasn't a great player, role player, but he's got championships. Magic Johnson lasted what? How long? Barely a half a season, 8 to 10 games the most before he got fired, before he was able to get fired or quit. And one of the greatest basketball minds ever, but he couldn't translate it. You know why? Because it's hard when you're great. Great players don't make great coaches. Most of them don't, because they don't have the mind to teach. That's what I'm saying. Jordan is not a teacher. He's not a teacher. He's not going to put guys in play and say, look, you here, you come over here. Here's the mismatch right here. Jordan ain't looking for no mismatches.
You're changing the narrative. A basketball mind and being able to teach is two different things.
D, why are they having a podcast? Because they're talking basketball, right? They're talking basketball. What I'm saying is that when you look at guys who know the game of basketball schematically, I'm not talking about the way they play. I'm not talking about the greatness that they had on the court. I'm just talking about their ability to talk ball from that perspective, not bragging ball, not like we saying someone is better than this one because no. I'm talking about from a schematic position. That's what I'm talking about. Jordan never, in all the years we've watched Jordan, we've never seen Jordan talk about his game or being better than someone else from the position of coming at them schematically or understanding something. I'm not saying he didn't have it, but that's not what he loves to do. But that's not what he loves to do. I'm not saying he didn't understand basketball. I mean, he understood pick and roll and pin down screens, and he understood terms and what they meant because he played the game. Of course, I wouldn't say that he didn't.
So you think Kawhi Leonard has a basketball mind?
Yeah, I mean, but D, anybody in the NBA
no,
understands the game, but
do
they love to talk it?
We're talking great players.
Great players.
Talking about it doesn't mean you, number one, can do it, right? What's his name? Talks basketball, right? He does a lot. I mean, let Kendrick Perkins tell it, even though he averaged for a career 4 points a game for his entire career. Let him tell it. He has all of the knowledge of any player who's ever played. He's played with, he's a champion, right? So that already gives him some credibility that JJ Redick doesn't have. Number two, he's played with great players. He played with LeBron. He played with Kevin Durant. He played with Westbrook. He played with Ibaka. He played on really good teams, right? So that gives him credibility. But there is a difference. I think the distinction that you're making is because a person in their mind knows how to break down a player and pretty much dominate them based on their skill. Because at the end of the day, we can do all the mental gymnastics. It's still about you stopping that player, right?
Right.
And them stopping you.
Right.
And when we talk about that, and when we think about it, Jordan stopped a complete era.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
He stopped a complete era. So clearly, he had the basketball IQ to and the skills to match to prevent people from winning championships in his era.
I don't think that's absolute, because I'm going to tell you why. Because again, we look at Jordan's career. His first 8 years in the league, he was the greatest basketball player anybody would arguably have ever seen. But he couldn't win. Why? Because they couldn't get past Detroit, who was well coached. They didn't have great players outside of Dumars and Isaiah on that team. What other guys did they have? Rodman then was not the Rodman that we later became to know and later makes the Hall of Fame. He wasn't even a starter on that team, crying out loud. Okay? So you didn't have great. Now, Adrian Dantley was a Hall of Famer, but he only played on 1 year. He wasn't even there the second year that they went to the finals. Mark Aguirre was an all-star, who they had, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm saying they didn't have. They had a good. Vinny Johnson, a role player. Vinny was a role player. But what I'm saying is that they were well coached.
Even he was.
They understood. Who's better? Oh, Vinny was. But the point I'm trying to make is, we can't say because Jordan had the basketball IQ. LeBron James took a team. He took you and me to the finals, on his rookie deal. And Mike Brown was not even the coach that he even later became, even though he came from the Popovich tree. But that's not just sheer greatness in terms of his athleticism. That's also understanding, trusting your teammates that you don't even have. Okay? Jordan would not even have done that. And Jordan had some reasonably decent players on his team other than Scottie Pippen, and would not trust those guys. Paxson been a good shooter on that team and still wouldn't trust him to shoot the ball. And B.J. Armstrong, and still wouldn't trust him. And Craig Hodges. Who had to get him to do that? Phil Jackson. Nobody had to tell LeBron to trust your teammates, because LeBron understood the concept of basketball. See, why do you do a young Rod? See, why do young Rodman don't get credit for being him, but Phil Jackson get credit for being the Zen Match walking the door of Chicago when diminishing Jordan's chips? I'm not understanding what you're saying, Scrap. What I'm saying is that when Phil took over for Doug Collins, he was able to take them over the hump. Did he not? He brought them to the next level. I'm talking about the composition of the team in Detroit. Rodman was not. He was a good player. He was a role player, though, Scrap. He wasn't a great player. He wasn't on the level of Isaiah and Dumars and those guys. All I'm saying is that we can't sit here and say that because Jordan had great IQ and he was a great player. No, he was a great player only until Phil came. Then that took him to the next level to understand the game of basketball a little bit differently. Other than that, he was dunking over everybody, and that was going to be all the Jordan won. I want to win. Well, how you going to win, Mike, if you don't know how to play basketball with your teammates? So that was all it was. So you can't say look, I know y'all idolize Jordan. Everybody loves Jordan. He can do no wrong. He can make no mistake. He's the greatest in sliced bread. Anything come out of Jordan's mouth is golden. No, Jordan had flaws, and Jordan was not going to be great if he did not have the coaching. And what you got to give LeBron credit for is LeBron did a lot without the level of coaching that Michael Jordan benefited from, even Kobe and Shaq for that matter. So let's not sit and act like that LeBron don't know basketball. And if I had to pick a guy, if I had to choose choosing two guys to talk basketball to me, and I had a gun to my head, and I'm going to sit there. Who's going to talk about? I'm going with LeBron to talk basketball over Michael Jordan. Now, it may become the playing basketball.
And JJ Redick, you would pick JJ Redick over Michael Jordan too. And brains would be. Yeah, I don't know where the brains would be.
Why can't JJ Redick talk basketball better than Jordan? So Jordan is the only one that knows basketball better than everybody because he's arguably the greatest player to play it.
No.
So then why can't JJ Redick talk basketball? Why can't he?
I guess he
what's wrong with JJ Redick?
Nothing's wrong with him.
You don't like him. You don't think he should be with LeBron talking about? How dare he? A guy who only averaged 10 points when he left the league. He's a career 12-point average a year player.
I mean, he's an average player. He's an average from your standards.
He's a good player. Didn't we agree on that? If you're in the NBA, you good.
Every NBA player is good. So
then he's good.
So he's a good player,
right?
And so you think that is a good match of LeBron and him talking basketball? Okay, cool. Let's move.
No, he wasn't a role player though. Scrap. Rodman wasn't a role player. Rodman wasn't a role player, and what you call it? He was part of that big four. In fact, when you go back to that documentary, what did Michael say? He told Rodman when he came to Dennis and said, "I need you while Scotty is out rehabbing. I need you," and he stepped up. He felt accepted by Michael because he loved the great God and he loved him and he embraced him, and that made him hot. Then the minute Scotty came back and decided to come back to the team, Michael chucked him and said, "Okay, Scotty, it's me and you again." And then that's when he went on his binge. So no, Dennis was a vital part of that. And who decided to? And they decided to bring him in, and that was Krause who brought him in. And then they agreed to bring him in, and then he made an impact. So his role was way more vital in Chicago than it was in Detroit. Come on, I mean, there's no comparison there. We already know. Come on, we gonna stop acting like we don't know no basketball on this show.
You said okay. All right, so let's go to the Clippers. It seems the question is, do the Clippers have a identity problem, or do they have a culture problem? Okay. I saw a podcast or interview with Paul George, and the Clippers have this, I guess, this ongoing, if you're in practice and you shoot a air ball, you're supposed to run a lap or something. So they're playing, and it's they'll stop practice for the person that shoots the air ball. I'm kind of paraphrasing, and that person will run a lap and get back into it. Well, Kawhi Leonard shot an air ball, and so they're looking around, and Paul George is like, is somebody going to say something? And he looks at Brian Shaw, are you going to say something? And they're just, so they kind of, I guess someone says it, and he's like, well, I'm not running anything. I'm not running something. So they pretty much from that point on did away with it. My question to you is, after Westbrook's injury, obviously the Clippers were a hot team. They seem to have scaled back, right? They've been losing some games and getting blown out, really. In some games. They were 9-point favorites the other day and lost. Do you think that the Clippers, number one, will be able to make a deep run in the playoffs? Number two, do you think that type of leadership is conducive to winning, right? Because if it's the standard, it's the standard, and it should apply to everyone involved. No one should be above the standard. Now, we do understand that everyone is not treated the same way, right?
Right, of course. That's
LeBron can leave with 4 minutes left in the game. Nobody's going to question it. He could sit on the end of the bench drinking, out of a bottle. Nobody's going to question it. So certain people are treated differently, and we understand that. Superstars and great players are treated differently, but the Clippers, that kind of division, that type of not being consistent with the standard, I think will potentially backfire. What do you say?
No, I think so. That's not going to work, D. And listen, that narrative has followed Kawhi, right? There was special treatment given to him when he signed with the Clippers, I believe it was, and there was some issues with that they had. And to me, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've kind of feel with Kawhi. Honestly, Kawhi is not he's not really a leader like that. You know what I mean? To me, I think he robs money to a degree. Great player, can play the game of basketball very, very well. Okay. With top 75, I guess, all time. I'm sure he's on that list, which was obviously without a doubt, and rightfully so. But it shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? So that culture's broken right off the rip. If he's your leader or supposed to be, and considered your best player, you know what I'm saying? And maybe even that could be argued, right? Because I don't know. Paul George is probably just as good, right? Because when you think about Kawhi, outside of his run that he made, you think? Say it again.
He's not just as good. He's not as good as.
You don't think he's as good as Kawhi?
No, goodness.
Paul George?
No.
Okay.
He's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would agree with you, but with an asterisk. I think there might be still something there. I think Paul George. I mean, he didn't do well in the bubble, of course, but I think overall, I mean, his skill level is very good. I mean, he's
a great player. And given the injury that he had, to be able to come back and play at a very high level, it's remarkable. Yeah, absolutely. Right. But Kawhi, he is not. He is not Kawhi. He's not on Kawhi's level.
Okay. No, I mean, I'm not going to debate you on that. I think, overall, I think you're right. I would say, though, that if that's the culture then there, and your lead guy is saying what he's not going to do, then no, that's not going to work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So that team already is fragmented, and you're asking if they're going to go even to the playoffs. Well, I mean, they have the ability to, but if that's what it's looking like, and if Paul George, now I didn't hear the interview, D, so help me with this. Did he say it in a way where he was, where it was frowned upon? He didn't like it, or he just kind of like said it in jest a little bit? Like what was
I
the
think
tone?
He said it in jest, but I mean, that nobody would have known about it, so he still put it out there for public consumption. You get what
Correct.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I feel you on that.
It was in practice, right? So at the end of the day, no one would have known about it. So he still put it out there, and so maybe that down the line, if they don't go deep, it's like, don't blame me, blame the leader. That it might have been some preemptive. Hey, this is the top. We're not.
I feel you on that, sir. Yeah,
so that could be, he could be smart about that.
Yeah.
Because at some point that band is going to get broken up, right?
Right.
I mean, I know they want to keep them at least until they get their own place. But
right.
that band, they're going to break that band up if they don't do nothing, right? This season or maybe the next, depending on how long they're under contract. So maybe he's just saying. Now, Paul George, there's a difference. Paul George is a great player, plays really well, two-way player. But I don't know if he has the ability to carry a team the way Kawhi does. Kawhi can carry a team. He doesn't have to be a vocal leader. All leaders don't have to, their approach to leadership doesn't have to be the same. Some are more, demonstrative. They demonstrate a certain level of consistency, a level of being prepared, a level of clutchness, and some are vocal. Give me the pad. Let me tell you what to do. Go in that corner. You be there. And that's LeBron. He'll do that. But I don't think it makes you any greater. It's an addition. It's added to greatness. But I don't think it makes you ultimately greater, because you still have to execute at the end of the day. You still have to execute. And you can set everything up. And if those players don't execute, you'll have the same result. Right?
I agree.
So just because you you set it up where players are in the perfect position to win and to execute a play, doesn't mean it always happens. But time will tell. We'll see what happens with the Clippers. I
don't know, but now again, I'm probably gonna say something more controversial. But I don't know if Kawhi. I mean, if you think about it, right? You take away his half a season where he led Toronto to a championship. Of course, got some great equalizers along the way, as you often say, right? Which I agree with. Injury is the great equalizer, right? So they didn't, Embiid, I think. Well, Embiid was playing in that series, I think, against Philly, right?
Because
he was crying and everything.
He had to be carried to the locker room. He was crying.
Locker room and crying and everything. And the ball bounces.
Shout out to Scrap. He was crying.
Shout out to Scrap. Yeah.
He just went to his knees looking at that shot as it rolled around the rim.
Outside of that
too.
1 year,
I love to see Embiid.
Yeah,
cry.
yeah. You're not a big Sixer
No,
Embiid fan,
goodness,
right?
I'm not an Embiid fan at all. But go ahead. What were you saying?
But I'll say this real quick, and then we can address. I think what Scrap want to say here too. But I'll say, and then of course Isaiah. So I'll just say I don't know if he's outside that that half a season. What has he done? And think about it. If KD and Clay don't get hurt, they don't win that series against Golden State. No way. I mean, before KD got hurt, he hit 3 straight threes in a row. You knew it was about to be a wrap for that series if KD doesn't get hurt. So for me, what did he do? I mean, he won a chip and won an MVP, but still, you had Duncan and Parker. You still have the core of that team. He was just their he was their rising star, but he wasn't the guy that, and then you still had Pop and everything else. I'm not going to give him a ton of credit. Look, to me, when you talk about a guy carries a team, you got to do that with regularity. You know what I'm saying? You did that half a year, and after that, you just fell off the earth. You've been hurt. You hardly ever play. You low manage. I don't know. Kawhi he's great when he plays, but he don't play. So I don't. It doesn't matter to me. He doesn't. I don't put him in anything. So anyway, but go ahead, D. Whatever.
All right. So let me ask you a question: is Isaiah Thomas a great player?
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer, right? I don't have my notes in front of me. He's a Hall of Famer, right? He's a top 75 player, is he? Is he not?
Yeah, top 50. Yeah, we got to start making a distinction between the top 50 and the top 75.
Okay,
right.
Cool.
Yeah.
He had an interview on Draymond Green's podcast. And he told Draymond Green to his face, Kevin Durant saved the Warriors' legacy.
Yeah, he did.
The Warriors would have been a 73-9 team.
Yeah.
That lost 3-1. And they would not have beaten Cleveland the next couple of years because Cleveland and LeBron with that team had their number.
Definitely.
Now, it is beautiful when you say something on the show and I have no personal, I don't have Zeke, Isaiah Thomas in my phone. I don't have his information as of yet. But it's beautiful when you say something and it comes full circle and a NBA champion, multiple time NBA champion, Hall of Famer, top 50 player, arguably one of the best point guards ever, says this exact same thing that you said. So don't take my word for it. What do you have to say about the great Isaiah Thomas saying what I've been saying almost since the inception of this podcast? And my statements have been said and documented well before he ever said it. So I didn't plagiarize. I didn't jump on. I didn't bandwagon his statements. Those statements were in the sentiment of my heart that the Warriors needed Kevin Durant, and because they won 73 games meant nothing. It meant absolutely nothing because at the end of the day, Kevin Durant came to that team, became the best player. I can't say became. When he got there, he was the best player. Yeah. Won 2 MVPs, took them over the top, and they would have not been able to beat Cleveland without him. What do you say?
I say that the inverse of that also applies to Kevin Durant. Zeke is right. KD took them over the top, made them the dynasty that they became. That's unequivocally true.
And finish the quote. Save their legacy.
Save their legacy.
Okay,
yes, he did.
I want to make sure
save their legacy. You can write that down. You could clip it. You could show it. You could reel it. It is so. I agree. I agree with Isaiah Thomas, and I agree with you when you said it.
You did not.
No, I did.
Not.
No.
You said, I'm going to clip what you said, and then I'm going to clip what you just said now. You said Kevin Durant was a bus rider, that they didn't need him.
Yeah, I said that too, and I'm going to tell you why both things are true.
Saving legacy and needed him. That
but
doesn't go with this. Okay, I'm going
to tell you why both are true, because in the sense of what Isaiah's talking about, he's speaking from what? The perspective of the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors as an organization, and that team in particular, does not get through or overcome LeBron James and a healthy Cleveland Cavalier team, right?
Right.
So what do? They get KD. KD joins. KD 2-time MVP. two-time champion with them. They win 3 out of 4 years with the chip with Golden State. Now, but the same thing, D, because the part you don't ever want to put any emphasis on is that same slight that we put or Zeke was putting on Golden State, that also still goes to KD. Why? Because people had expectations of Kevin Durant. There are people in the sports world, particularly in the NBA, who considered KD, as they should have, particularly at that time, one of the greatest players and one of the most prolific talents and efficient scorers that we've ever seen. And he led his team to not only to a NBA championship appearance, but right before he joined Golden State, he was up 3-1 against that team in the conference finals. So to have turned around so suddenly and to come to a team that he had nearly beaten in a conference championship, to join them and take an easy path to a championship, he does not get away with. He is not absolved from being a bus rider. He's not absolved from joining a 73-win team and a team that had won a championship the year before that. He also now has to take the same hit.
How can you be a bus rider if you can't be a bus rider?
I'm gonna tell you why he's
and
a bus
legacy saver at the same time. You can't.
Sure,
it's impossible.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you got to put that marriage into context. Because it's not like the team was not winning, and then KD came and saved them. They had already won. They were already champions. Hence what Draymond told him: "We won without you. We were already champions before you got here. Don't get it twisted." Why was he able to say that?
We realized they won the same type of championship that you alluded that Kawhi did in Toronto. Right. Injury-ridden playoffs, and you get to a point where the teams that you would have played, you didn't play because ultimately you had the fortune of injuries on your opponents. Well, think about this. The game or the championship that they won was Cleveland was decimated, and they still went 7 games. So let me ask you a question. If they play and Cleveland has their full arsenal of players, Kyrie is playing, Kevin Love's playing, all the other role players, and LeBron James was in his peak at that point.
Yes, he was.
Who wins that championship?
If you've got everyone healthy in Cleveland, and you got everyone healthy and everyone healthy in Golden State.
Everyone was healthy in Golden State, and they won 7 games. So I'm asking you, if you add Kyrie and you add Kevin Love and they're healthy, who wins that series?
Cleveland wins that series. Cleveland still wins that series.
So because the Warriors and injuries are the great equalizer. So we don't not accept the championship because of injuries, right? But if you factor that in, then your bus riding theory and we won before you got here, you do have to take some of that. The end result is a championship, but how they got it, you do have to factor that into their quote unquote, we were dominant before you got here.
But they could have also taken the position to say, okay, you know what? We did go 7 games, right? So there is a chance that we could still beat this team even without acquiring Kevin Durant. Right, so there was a chance that it wasn't like that Cleveland was that much better than them. But when you brought in Kevin Durant, you shifted everything in a seismic way. That changed everything because KD was better than Kyrie, better than Love, right? And so when just him alone was better than the 2 role players LeBron had, not to mention Clay and Steph.
Was he better than LeBron?
Was KD better? No, because Kevin Durant's not better than LeBron James. No, okay. He's not. No, he's not. Okay. Yeah. Do you believe that? You believe you do? I just want. Do you believe Kevin Durant is better than LeBron James? You know,
as an overall player.
You know what? Wait a minute. Now,
no.
You want to do that? Did you see America? Did you see my eyes?
Yeah.
Listen, the glasses
as an overall
here,
player,
the eyeballs left, and the eyeballs went that way.
As an overall player. Or as a scorer, because there's dimensions to it, right? if you say
as an overall, as if you're gonna
as
say
a scorer, absolutely
if you're going
not.
to name the great ones, are you gonna put KD above LeBron? When you talk about the great ones, you have to name your top 5 overall or top 10, and KD and LeBron is on your list.
But
who's going first?
If I'm making a team, right? Because everything is not a yes or no. If I'm making a team,
but that's what y'all tell me. You and Scrap would. Oh
no,
my
listen,
gosh, y'all would obliterate me if this was me right now.
If I'm making a team and my team is comprised of defensive players, wing defenders, all of that, if I want a scorer, it's not even close. Kevin Durant is light years better than LeBron in scoring. I don't care about 40,000 points.
I'm not asking you from a GM perspective. I'm asking you in the barbershop, and somebody say, yo, D, name your top 5 players of all time. And you had KD and LeBron was in your mind as in the top 5. Who's going first?
Oh, LeBron.
Who's going to go? LeBron's going to go.
Because
so LeBron,
in totality, he's a better player.
Okay, all right, that's all I'm asking. But here's why KD is a bus rider and a legacy savior, because of who he is and what was expected of him. Mitch Richmond won a finals with the Lakers when Kobe and Shaq was there. You know, Mitch Richmond was a multiple All-Star. He was a star in the league. He was down with the whole Run DMC back with Chris Mullins and them and the Kings.
Right.
And he was a bus rider. He was off the bench on that team. He bandwagon and won a chip there. Gary Payton was a bus rider with Miami. So was Glenn Rice with the Lakers.
Was he the best player though?
No.
When he got
he wasn't. He wasn't.
You're just pulling anybody.
But here's why. But the team that they joined, even though they weren't the best player, but the team that they joined, okay, was not on the level of what the Warriors were. Okay, that's all I'm saying. They weren't champions yet at that time. And let's just be honest, that Miami team that Gary Payton joined still wasn't greater with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and that was before that. I'm talking about Shaq and Wade. That team wasn't better than Golden State Warriors. So you got to put it into context. The Kevin Durant was arguably, probably, maybe the best player in the league during that time, before he joined Golden State D. I think that's fair to say. He was probably even though LeBron was LeBron, but people would easily also say that KD was the best. So I'm saying what people would say. I'm not saying I would, but I'm saying at that time, KD was one of the great players of that day. So you saved the legacy, but you a bus rider because of the team you joined, the kind of team you joined. A KD guy during his lockout tour. I like KD more than I like LeBron. I mean, you could like the game more. I mean, scoring wise, prolific shooting. Listen, ain't too many better.
Is he a better scorer than LeBron?
Absolutely, he is. Okay. Absolutely.
So aspects of his game are light years better than LeBron. But we both agree in totality, in longevity, LeBron is a better player. If you do something, honestly, it takes 21 days to form a habit. So if you do something for 21 years, you should really be good, right?
No, there's a lot of players. The Tree Rollins played 20-something years. He wasn't good. Vince Carter played almost 20 years.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Vince Carter was really good.
But not towards the latter part of his career. I'm saying, you said if you do something for 21 years, you should be good. I mean, Vince Carter started fading out, man. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the Vince Carter of old. You know what I'm saying?
We didn't expect him to be Toronto or New Jersey or the Nets, right? But he was still a serviceable player.
Yeah, but we're not talking about KD and LeBron are not serviceable. And I don't think KD will be serviceable even when if he decides to play as long as LeBron. You know what I'm saying? I think because KD as long as he can still shoot. If KD's missing shots, then he's done. That's all he's got. So if he ain't shooting, he ain't nothing else he can offer you. That's all he's got. He's one-dimensional at the end of the day. That's all KD can do is shoot the ball from anywhere in the court. Once that shot ain't dropping, that's it. We know something what do they say is Father Time.
Player, I'm finding out that every player from Jordan to Kevin Durant to Kobe, you are taking something away from their greatness to prop up LeBron.
Never take away Kobe. Kobe is, Magic is my all-time favorite Laker. But no, Kobe, I can't take anything away from Kobe. I ain't gonna lie. I have a very soft spot for Kobe. I love Kobe Bryant. If I had to choose him and LeBron, it was just Kobe because Kobe was a Laker. You know what I'm saying? LeBron's not a Laker. When y'all think of LeBron's greatness, I don't even think of the Lakers. I think of what he did in Cleveland and in Miami. I don't even think of what he did in LA. He doesn't resonate with me with LA. I'm a Lakers fan first. It's team first for me. So no. So I'm always gonna have a heart for Kobe over LeBron. No doubt. That's how it's gonna be.
Now let's switch to the NFL. Winners and losers in free agency so far. I've heard a lot of talk. I'm a little nervous about Brandon Ayuk.
You saw
the Jaguars are very interested. I don't care about him saying him and Mike Tomlin look alike because they don't. I'm more interested in the fact that they are entertaining deals to get number 17th pick and Zay Jones for Brandon Ayuk. Now, Zay Jones is he's a what's so funny? I don't know.
Wait. Did you say they're entertaining? They're entertaining.
A first round,
Zay Jones.
A first round. What
are they doing? A first
round pick and Zay Jones for Brandon Ayuk. Well, I don't understand what's funny about that.
D, you don't find that hilarious after you have been on this show religiously?
A first round pick.
You know they're not giving nobody a first round pick for Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk is not worth a first round draft pick. They can forget that. They might get a third, and that's about it. Nobody's giving up a number 1 draft pick for Brandon Ayuk, bro. That ain't happening. No.
Okay.
I guarantee that deal ain't gonna go down, son.
If it doesn't go down, I would be happy.
But why are you the only one that believes that he's a number 1? And clearly the 49ers don't think he is.
No, they clearly do. A first round and a player for him.
Because they're trying to see if there's GMs like you who believe that he's a number 1. And there's no GM that thinks that. I'll guarantee you they're not going to get. Listen, aim high. I get it. I'm not mad at Lynch. Go ahead and aim high, sir. You know what I'm saying? Hey, somebody might surprise you, right? So I'm just saying. Because they don't think he's a number 1, and surely nobody else in the league is giving up a number 1 pick for him.
Really?
Not at all.
So you don't think the Niners look at him as their
if they
potential
did, then
number
why they
1
not
receiver?
signing him? Why they not? Why is there no talk about signing him? Why didn't they have gotten? He would have had a contract. If he was a number 1 receiver, there's no doubt Dallas is signing CeeDee Lamb. They're going to sign CeeDee Lamb.
Is it done? Is it done?
No, it's not. But it's going to be done.
Oh, there talks about
it. Be done.
No. See, you can't say that CeeDee. No,
is CeeDee Lamb out there talking about? I look. Is he saying, "Yo, Rob Saleh, they say you and I look alike"?
I will say this. How about this? How about we put something on the fact that if Brandon Ayuk is a Niner, or he's traded to another team where he will be a number 1, the quarterback has to be decent, right? Doesn't have to be great. But if let's say the quarterback's in the top 15, right? We won't do top 10. If he's top 10, even worse. But if he's top 15, let's say that his numbers will be comparable or better than CeeDee Lamb's. You want to put some pride on that?
On what? On Dallas giving up for a number 1? Wait, what are you saying? I'm sorry.
I said if Brandon Ayuk
is
on the Niners, or he goes to another team with at least a top 15 quarterback, his numbers will be comparable or better than CeeDee Lamb's next season.
Oh, that's not gonna happen. His numbers not be better than CeeDee Lamb. Nah. Whatever you want to do.
They were already comparable.
They were nowhere close.
Better. What do you mean nowhere close?
Let's see, we're getting back into this argument again. We're gonna get back into the argument that he averages nearly 19 yards a catch. So that's why he almost had as many yards as CD with less targets, because he got more yards per catch.
How many less targets?
What was it, about 30?
60. No, it was 60 less
Oh,
targets.
60. Yeah, 60. Yeah.
So
60
is
less targets.
is that a significant difference? And only having 300 less yards, right?
Yeah, that is. But D, that's like saying someone has the highest percentage in shooting in basketball because if they're right by the rim or they take the least amount of shots. There's probably a guy shooting 95% from 3-point. I mean, from the 3-point range, and only because he only took 2 shots. You know what I'm saying, or whatever the case. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
He was the 4th option. You said he was the 4th option.
Yeah.
And he had 300 less yards than your number one, your perceived number one receiver.
Yeah.
Okay.
But D.
Let's move on. Who's the winners and losers in free agency so far? Who do you see? I'll tell you who a loser is. The Cowboys are not. I repeat, are not the best team in Texas. Do we agree with that?
No, we definitely agree with that. Not at all. Because the Texans haven't, when the Texans can hold up the Lombardi trophy like this, then and have Jim Nance or Terry Bradshaw or Jim or Buck say to D'Amico Ryans, you know what I'm saying? Job well done. How did you do with this team? You brought this team out of purgatory and whatever else they're gonna say to him. Until that happens with confetti, until that team has confetti, D. Okay, until they get that, they are not the best team in the state of Texas. They got 1 year, D. 1 year. Wow, they're a great team. They got a trajectory, but they're not the best team in Texas. And they would never supplant the Cowboys in fandom. And they would never.
I didn't say that. People are going to be. Listen, people will be deceived until the end of days. So I wouldn't suggest that they would, they would surpass them in fandom. But I will say, if I compare the two teams, the two Texas teams, the Texans they knocked it out the park with drafting. They have a better coach. They have a better quarterback. They got a good run. They got a better running back. Arguably, they have a better receiving core. Their defense is better. So I mean, what do you guys?
Well, my defense was top 5. So I mean, I don't know how much better. They had some good linebackers. I think they lost one of their linebackers.
You lost everybody this year.
Well, we lost some key contributors. I mean, we didn't lose our stars. Yeah, he retired.
They had the nerve to try to
blame Trent Williams for that.
That was a ridiculous. Trent Williams did what he was supposed to.
Well, it wasn't an illegal block in the back on Micah, but
it was not.
You know, I mean, it didn't look like a clean block. But no, I'm not gonna blame Trent for that though. Look, Van Ness is gonna probably, unfortunately, was going to have to succumb at some point.
So,
yeah. No, I agree with you there. No, I agree with you there.
And
Dallas,
but the pads that he had already, if all of the pads around his neck up to his earlobes ain't gonna save it, certainly he actually Trent Williams did him a favor. Like,
no, you're right. No, he'll probably get it. I'm sure he's gonna definitely get a coaching job. He just had a baby too. He had to walk away from the game. It was the best.
Yeah.
Look, he got paid. He got a really good deal. You know, he got a second contract in the NFL, which is hard to do, and he did that. And had a really good rookie season, and he was a serviceable player for us. He was good. We're gonna miss LVE, definitely. The Wolf.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we're gonna miss him. Yeah.
Are the Cowboys? Do you think that the Cowboys are all in, as Jerry Jones suggested?
Well, Jerry Jones did. Steven made a correction, right, or clarified it. He said, and Jerry did say this too, all in, meaning the players that we got now, we must make sure that we keep. Now, what happened was this, right? They haven't signed Mike and CD yet, but they will. But what they did with Dak, they cleared up. Dak gave him a little bone, right?
Right, he restructured.
So what it is Dak don't want what they call these what do you call these years that they put on the contract? I can't remember the name now. I'm drawing a blank.
It's
but
dead
he doesn't
money, right on the end. Or you're talking about dead money
it's called something else though. It's not the dead money, but it's oh shoot, I can't remember. What it does is that when it's like these phantom caps that they put down on the end of the contract, right? It's really not an extension. It's just something that helps the cap for the team. Dak don't want that. That's what they're really trying to give Dak. And Dak is saying, look, I'll give you $4 million. You can free up about $4 million. I'll take $5 million off. You can take that. And that should start the ball rolling in good faith for you to give me an extension, right? I personally don't think they should give Dak, in my opinion. I think
he's going to get it.
Out, but he's going to get it. They're going to give it to him because they're going to
$60 million a year.
Money. Yeah, and they need that. But Dallas has never, ever been a team to go all in on the draft. So fans got excited about it. I mean, I kind of drunk the Kool-Aid a little bit initially, but I just realized that that's not what they do. They're not a team that's going to go all in. And D, let's just make this clear. And I'll say this, that you can take us where you want to go. The teams that are spending all this money in free, they don't win nothing. It's not all of that. You got to really be almost there to win. That's all. They get all this. These guys spending big money in free agency for what? It's not going to change. Washington still got it. They need a quarterback at the end of the day. They got the second number. They got the number 2 draft, but that don't mean they're going to do anything with the quarterback is still young. Then they spend. All they did was take a bunch of Cowboy really role players and contributors. They still don't even have the stars on their team to do what they need to do. So I'm not worried about all these teams. You know, the Eagles do a lot. They did, we'll see. We'll see. Their secondary still ain't no better. Even with Gardner back there, still ain't that much better to me. But
so do you think where's the pecking order? Do you think you're number 2 in the division? Well, you're better than the Giants. You should feel confident with that.
Definitely better than the Giants.
But are you better than Washington?
I do think we're still better than Washington. Now, Washington is not going to be the rollover team and the dungeon team that they've been in recent years. They will be better. They will compete, but I don't think that I don't think they're better than Dallas. I still don't think they're better than Dallas. No, they won't be. Okay. No, not at all.
When Magic Johnson starts sending out those tweets when y'all play, I'm going to remind you of they're not better. Listen, from Magic Johnson's standpoint, we know whatever he touches turns to gold, right?
Yeah.
And so
he's a winner. He's a winner.
You should be concerned. Because if they lock up a really good quarterback and they have,
I forget who their OC is again, though. I don't know who their OC is. I keep forgetting.
Oh, it's what's his name?
Who's that?
The guy that used to be with you guys, right?
Oh, right. They got Kellen Moore's with Philly.
Oh, he's with Philly.
Nothing. Scrap, will you? I can't wait to see Scrap for the next show.
No, they have. I think they have a pretty good.
They got them weapons and they ain't gonna do nothing. Kellen don't know nothing. Kellen don't know nothing. He is the most unimaginative OC you ever gonna find. They just signed a good running back. They got Saquon. Ain't gonna know what to do with the Saquon. Ain't gonna know nothing. He's not gonna know what to do.
I think
Kellen Moore
guys are in trouble
is gonna just throw the ball. That's all he's gonna do. He's gonna drop back, hurt, and throw the ball. He RPOs. He ain't gonna know what to do with that. All right, well, how do you run that? How does that work? Don't work. He's not that kind of OC. But anyway,
sounds like sour grapes.
No, I'm just telling you what he is. He's a good OC, but he's basic. He's a drop back guy and just throw the ball. He likes to pass the ball. And you know what? Dak's numbers this year being in the MVP voting, if you go back to 2021, it's the same exact numbers. It's no different. Identical numbers, D, from 2023.
Did you guys run the ball better this past year, than you did
we didn't.
Kellen Moore? Okay. So I don't understand why.
No, Kellen wasn't with us this year. Remember, he was in San Diego.
No, I understand that.
I mean, Los Angeles. Yeah.
Were your numbers better without Kellen running the ball? So this year you didn't have him. How'd you guys do running the ball?
No, we didn't. But
you said Kellen
that nothing to do. But Kellen benefited. He had Zeke still playing pretty good football, and then you still had a pretty much a good line that was healthy for the most part. Now Zach and Tyron is gone, which is a huge loss, in my opinion.
With the Jets.
He's with the Jets. Yeah, I'm happy for him. We're gonna miss him too. Yeah, definitely gonna miss him. I was hoping we was gonna sign back.
You'll be top 2 in the East. You're saying?
I still think we'll be between us and the Eagles. Right now, we the champs. I mean, we don't know. It looks good on paper. Eagles look good on paper too until they took a nosedive. So we don't mean nothing. Eagles ain't nobody scared of no Eagles. I was telling y'all that in preseason. I ain't worried about the Eagles. And I still ain't worried about the Eagles. I ain't worried about them. Old punchable face coach.
Who you worried about?
The only team I'm worried about.
Thank you.
Is the San Francisco 49ers.
That's it. That's
still,
all you need to worry about.
Even without Ayuk. I'm still worried about them. Even they gonna be Ayuk-less. Well, you have Zay Fly. Yo, D.
I don't understand.
D. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. and then we can close out. You think if Ayuk is not on our team, right? They trade him. You don't think we're going to get a first round pick for him? So what happens if we get a first round pick and a player for Ayuk? What does that say to you?
It says then that maybe you're right. People do think he's a number one because you're going to give up a number one pick for a number one receiver.
And you said he's only going to fetch a third round. That's what you said, right?
He's no more than the third round.
Okay.
No more than
You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Because think about it, D. What team, if we, and I know we don't have the time to do it now, but if you think quickly and survey the landscape of the NFL, you got to get a team that has, I guess, a good quarterback that needs a number one receiver, right? So, I mean, so you got to maybe look at, I don't know, could he help Carolina? But then would Carolina spend a number one on Ayuk when they can probably use a number one and to fill some other areas, maybe perhaps?
You love going to Carolina.
Or
Jacksonville currently.
Atlanta.
There's a few to know. I think I don't know if Atlanta has the money because ultimately the understanding is once he goes there, he's going to be looking for an extension, right?
Exactly. That's the other part. Right.
So the Jaguars are a team because they don't really have a number one receiver. Calvin Ridley is gone, remember?
Right.
And so they had what's the other
way
dude?
overpaid too, but go ahead.
Yeah. But
way overpaid. But go ahead.
And then they got I forget the other player that used to play with Arizona. He went there, got a big payday.
Right.
And so they need a number one.
Talking about.
They need a number one receiver badly. So I think
Jaguars.
But
I don't know if you're gonna pay, and then what is Brandon Ayuk wanting, right? Like who's gonna if the 49ers ain't, and I can see why the 49ers wouldn't give him what he want because they don't need him like that. They need him, but not like that.
That's not
What's
the reason.
So what?
We
what
have
would be the
a
reason?
lot of big ticket players.
And Ayuk just
so we have the highest paid running back, right? I think we have one of the highest paid left tackles.
Yeah. We
have probably a top 5, top 10 paid wide receiver. Already.
I don't know if Debo's contract is that big. I gotta look again. I'm not sure.
I think he's top 10.
Time to look up.
I think he's in the top 10.
Okay.
And So,
but I think what they're thinking about is they need money to sign your boy because he's coming next year. Don't let that. Don't let that boy get to an NFC Championship game.
Not to think about, of course, Bosa, right? What he got paid.
Just sign him. Yeah.
And Hargrave, what he got paid. So because then are you going to say that Eric Armstead isn't a really good player? He's not a great player because they let him go. They let him go. There was no.
Well, yeah. They did.
Sometimes you gotta.
No, you got to, and I understand that. Yeah.
Chase Young, you let him go. You didn't try to re-sign him. So you sometimes have to let players go. But Brandon,
I agree with that.
It's very much part of the 49ers' future. So I hope. And if we let him go, it's not going to be for less than a first-round pick. I don't care what you say. It's not going to be for less than a first-round pick.
Nobody giving up a first round, and they got to pay him, so they're going to pay him and give up a number one pick. I'm telling you, once they realize what he wants, it's not going to be a number one pick. D for a team that got holes. If a team needs, they're not going to do that. You could get. I'm gonna be honest with you. You could get Ayuk's production in the draft, bro. You can draft the receiver at number 2 or 3 and get the same draft. I don't think the 49ers even expected Ayuk.
Rounds? You're talking about rounds?
Yeah, rounds. Okay. Because the 49ers probably didn't even expect Ayuk to have a good season the way he did. I mean, that's granted, he had a really good season. He had a really great. It was a career year for him, no doubt. I don't know if they expected that to be, but the thing is that now he wants to be paid like he's a number one. But I still don't think 1 year doesn't make you a number one. And you got to think about Purdy. They got to think about Purdy. Purdy is coming. He's coming next year. And
not next year.
Yep. He's gonna be in his third. He's gonna be in his third year. So after year 3, he's gonna be looking to try. Y'all still got him under contract, But you
and
know what I'm saying?
We still have an opportunity to franchise him. I mean, we have.
If you're smart, you pay him now.
We're not in the same position you guys are in, right? Where you are your quarterback, you have to pay your quarterback to even create space.
Right.
Then you have two major high-ticket items.
Right.
Players that you have to
we don't mind. We don't mind. Yeah, we got to pay them but those are guys you want to pay. You want to pay CD and Micah. So that's not a problem.
Of course.
Right.
But so don't make your problems our problems.
No, but what I'm saying is you're going to have our problem if you don't do the right thing now with Purdy. Because what Dallas
Purdy is not going to go from making $800,000. Listen to me carefully. He's not going to. Do you know that we just signed Josh Dobbs? And I laugh at that. Laugh at that we signed Josh Dobbs.
No. Josh
is not going from making $800,000 to making $60 million a year. Don't be deceived.
No, not 60, but you're gonna have to at least give him 40 to 45.
We're not resetting the market. We are not. We won't get 40 or 45. We won't.
The man led you to
March
a
19,
Super Bowl.
2024. He will not make. He's not going from 800,000 to 40 million.
All right.
He will not.
Listen, I trust me. His agent is saying otherwise.
Okay.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way you're going to use Mr. Irrelevant salary to justify to say, we're going to give him $25 million a year. That'll be the ultimate disrespect. 49er fans would even have a problem with that. They have a problem with that. They'll be like, man, you disrespect.
So now you know. Now you know the heart of the 49ers fan. Get out of here.
I know you.
and so if you do, know that we're not going to dismantle the team to pay a quarterback that's going to hurt us cap-wise.
No, I'm not saying he would get Patrick Mahomes money, but what I am saying is that you're going to give him
Patrick Mahomes is getting $45 million a year. So yeah, you are saying.
Well, then he needs Patrick Mahomes money. You got to get a guy. Don't let him. If he gets to an NFC Championship game or y'all make another Super Bowl appearance, I'm telling you, y'all gonna have to pay that kid. You're gonna have to pay him.
If he gets
to
or
trade him.
If he gets to an NFC Championship game or gets us to a Super Bowl again, he is going to get a beautiful $35 million. He is going to be below the cap.
He's going to be like,
he's not going to reset the market.
Only
Dallas quarterbacks reset the market.
Dallas did the wrong thing with Dak. They should have signed Dak when he was in his rookie deal. That's what they should have signed Dak, or they should have went all in at that time, and they did not. They kept kicking the can down the road, and that's how they got in this predicament because they did not want to pull the trigger on a contract. As far as paying him when they had an opportunity to pay him or really build a team around him when he was on his rookie deal. They didn't do it. They were still, we're going to see. We don't know. We got to see. They still wasn't sure about Dak. They wasn't sure. And they're still not sure about Dak. If the truth be told, and they're not sure. No, and I wouldn't be either.
I think the Falcons are winners so far. I think the Texans, best in Texas. I think the Eagles are winners.
Eagles, I mean, they got names. Everybody got names. Everybody got their names. That's what free agents all about. It's about the names, but you gotta still see what they do.
Your name is made by your play, right? It ain't made by just your name, right?
No. I mean, the guys play well. I mean, and they got big contracts. Probably some of them overpaid, but it's all about the guaranteed money, right? I mean, it's not about the whole contract in its total value. But no, I feel you on that. And like I said, for me, I know Dallas, and free agency is not going to be their thing. We'll see what they build and do the draft. You sign back CD and Micah. To me, I'm not looking for this season. I honestly, there's a piece of me that kind of hopes Dallas, and I probably shouldn't even say this, but there's a piece of me that hopes Dallas don't do well this year, honestly. Because then we'll be able to try out.
That's called foresight. That's called foresight. That's not a piece of you. That's called foresight. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. If you haven't done anything in free agency and every team around you has gotten better, you guys, the chances of you being better and you think you're going to end up with 12-5, you think you're going to.
But let me ask you something.
Wild card at best.
How many teams have done all these miraculous things in the free agency, and it's still the same teams that are going to still be around? Because it don't matter. You can get all these big names, but it's still going to be the same teams because it all depends on quarterback play at the end of the day. If you got the quarterback, your team is going to remain competitive.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. So
you have the quarterback.
We got a quarterback to be competitive in the regular season. We just don't have the quarterback for the playoffs.
Well,
That's it. When we get to the playoffs, we're not going to compete. We're not going to.
So-
Dak is not going to be that.
You have for sure. I mean, having a top 12 quarterback usually will get you into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's about all he is. Well, that's about that. What Dak is.
Yeah,
You know, he's a
top
Kirk
12.
Cousins. He's a Derek Carr. I mean, I do think he's better than Derek Carr. And I still think Dak is better than the Kirk Cousins for that matter. But again, he's just not. He doesn't have, like I say, and D, I say it all the time, and I'll say this. I'll end it with this comment for me right here. And I ate crow this year because Purdy, to me, was the byproduct of Shanahan and the players around him. But what I saw that kid do in the playoffs, to me, and I don't think he was the reason why y'all lost the Super Bowl.
No, he wasn't.
To me, and he played relatively well in the Super Bowl. To me, he showed something that I only wished Dak could show in the playoffs. I've seen Dak put games on his back in regular season, play with heart and will his team to win. I've seen it. But the playoffs on that stage, when your team was playing bad, and even though y'all were home, but y'all were playing bad, there's no way y'all should have won those games against Detroit and Green Bay. And Purdy was the reason why y'all won. So kudos to that kid, and I'm gonna give credit what credit is due. You know what I'm trying to say?
He just got married too. Shout out to Purdy.
Yeah, he really.
His new bride.
Cool.
Yeah, good for him.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. Congratulations there, Purdy. Purdy,
Yeah.
you know, nice kid. I like Purdy.
I like
he's
him
hard
too.
not to. He's hard not to root for. To me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're against him, but that's cool.
Yeah, I am, but go ahead.
Any more talk on the Dallas front before we wrap up about the fact that Dak has all those allegations and Jerry Jones allowed the prosecutor to come on the radio and pretty much further tarnish his name in a contract situation? What do you say about that?
I just say this. Look, Dak's going to end up getting suspended though, because somehow they're going to find out that he violated league rules. So I suspect the suspension to come. As far as 103.5, the fan they say that they reached out to Dak's lawyer too. I don't think, and like Bobby Belt and some of the main personalities on that radio station, some felt, and there was a big debate. They was going at it on the radio show. Like, I don't feel we should have done that. We should have not had him up there. That's not what we do. We're not that kind of radio station. Why would we go ahead and interview? Like, let's leave that to have a legal expert. You know, although I thought the questioning was really good. From what's his name? I forget his name there on KC the Masterpiece. I thought he did a good job interviewing the lawyer for the young lady. But at the end of the day, that's something they just should have stayed away from. It was going to create a lot of controversy. And so Jerry and them came out. Dallas has nothing to do with that. That they don't get involved with that. They said they had nothing to do with that, as far as who came on the show and anything like that. And what's going to happen now, Dak's lawyers are going to probably most likely come on the show. They are at some point. They are going to come on. And I think they've implied as such, because his lawyer did come out and say something in relationship to that. But I think they're going to come out and say something, whatever.
And so you believe Jerry Jones didn't know that was happening? You believe that?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't believe that. I think Jerry knew, but Jerry probably doesn't, Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to pay Dak anyway. So if it was a ploy to try to knock down and use it as a negotiation tactic, it won't matter. They're gonna pay. Dak's got all the cards in his hand. It doesn't matter. And so if you don't pay him, you're going to take $60 million in walks. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? He's going to take on his last contract. He's still going to get paid. It don't matter. So, and then he'll walk. So it is what it is. He's out, he'll get more money down as an extension. So it won't matter. So what would that have done? If anything, now he's going to lose games, because now the NFL is investigating the situation. And you can't come away and say, well, we didn't believe Dak did. No, it doesn't matter. Now, first you say you didn't know the woman, then you knew the woman. Now all of a sudden, and it was consensual, and now, you know what I'm saying? So, and then if he settles, forget about it. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. So that's implication of guilt if you settle. So he's gonna definitely get some games.
No, maybe you just want it to go away. You have a newborn baby, and you don't want, when the baby gets older, to read. I mean, maybe that's it.
So he's gonna lose some games though. He gonna definitely his pocket gonna get a little light about 8 games at least.
Oh well, then there goes 12-5, right? It's over.
Yeah, well, like I
said,
hit
Washington. Magic Johnson tweet coming. That tweet is coming. If you lose Dak for 8 games, Magic Johnson is going to be tweeting up a storm. That was a spirited win by the Commanders. Over. I don't listen. You said all that, and you think that your quarterback. You think Cooper Rush is going to bring you into?
No, I don't even know. Cooper's a free agent too. I'm surprised. I don't know. Did he get signed by anybody yet? No.
Nobody wants Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush is a good backup, man. I'm telling you, he's a good backup. He was 4-1. You beat Cincinnati and the Rams, huh?
Trey Lance is going to take you into a 12-5 season.
Listen, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Trey. Let's look at Trey. Let's go ahead and look at Trey. Look, Dallas is a mess anyway. Mike McCarthy's a dead. He's a lame duck coach. You know, man, he wasn't even around. He was on vacation. All this stuff was going on, and Jerry and Steven was in Southwest. Was it South by Southwest, whatever they call that event? Yeah, that's where they were at. So I mean, you know, nobody cares, son. They don't care, you know. And Dallas is still being talked about. So cha-ching. They don't care, bro. You know, it is what it is. That's what Dallas do. So
shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production. Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music. Once again, everyone, please like, share, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all platforms. Shout outs to everyone who left a comment. Canandre, Scrap. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Once again, if you like what we're saying, if you listen and on the rewatch, you understand and you are able to decipher what Rod was talking about JJ Redick, and it makes sense to you, please leave a comment. You will be baffled at his
the greatest minds in basketball, LeBron James and JJ Redick.
Right, exactly. And does Michael Jordan have a basketball IQ? Did he ever have a basketball IQ? Inquiring minds want to know.
Never.
Well, we appreciate.
Just dribbled and shot. He just shut up and dribbled.
Right, exactly. We appreciate you guys joining us. Until next time, everyone. Peace.
Peace.